way. It's like a leap from here to here.
Yes, please go ahead, Aparna. Whatever you want
Okay.
is a
Okay. So probably what I'm doing right now is I would say not advanced, but probably a very specific aspect of environment, and it's more so related to climate change and global warming. So what I do currently is basically, if I have to put it in simple words, there's something called greenhouse. So there's something called pollution, but there's something also called greenhouse gases. So now what I'm doing, I think I'm going too much into technicalities, but talking about what I'm doing currently is basically I'm preparing a greenhouse gas report or greenhouse gas inventory for a council, for a local government body here in Melbourne. So it's reporting all it's not pollution, but it's carbon pollution, if I had to put it that way, not carbon pollution, but carbon monitoring, if I had to say that. So I've come a long way from what I started as an environmental engineer, to a very specific aspect of only monitoring carbon and probably not just monitoring, but also tracking it, reducing it, and also reporting it, something like that, if that makes any sense.
yeah, all right. So it's very clear means how important carbon is for us, how to control its importance for us. So it's a really important job to do, Aparna. Thanks for that, your insight on this. Now tell us about environmental engineering. If you want to say something about it, why a student should go and choose the environmental engineering. Yeah.
Um, if I have to say that, why would you choose environmental engineering? First of all, don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. If it is not your passion, don't do it. Definitely, because there are very limited people who do this engineering. When I studied, it was a batch of 30 that we had in. So I've studied from Ahmedabad in LD Engineering College, in one of those colleges, government colleges. So there are limited seats, but what is important is you should be really passionate about it. I think what matters is, just don't do it because, oh, you might get a seat and this might be an opportunity, or this is looking very lucrative. But think about it, and that's what I definitely tell everyone, that take a call of what you want to do it, what you want to do with it, or what about it in future. So basically, think very carefully as to what are you passionate about. And I think this is what even Reena would agree, that if you're not passionate about it's I think this is what she meant, that you have to have an aptitude towards it and not just the marks, because marks may say something else, but it's very important that you should be really interested to do what you want to do. It's not worth doing it for like 2 years and thinking, oh, it was a wrong choice of engineering or wrong choice of subject. So probably think about it, because there are opportunities, and opportunities are growing really wide in terms of environment. So you can be in consultancy, which is of course very demanding, because you would be doing environmental impact assessments, you can be doing monitoring, you can be absorbed by the industry, because most, not just bigger industries, but even these days, even smaller industries, they have an environmental engineer, always, not just because it's mandatory, but also because they need to do a lot of, especially in terms of industries, they need to do a lot of monitoring, they need to keep a record of a lot of things. So environmental engineers play a definite and a very important role in that aspect. You can be with NGOs. This is another aspect which a lot of people who take environmental sciences, for example, if you are in natural sciences, you do zoology, you do botany, anything related to natural sciences, you can definitely be absorbed by not just by NGOs. I would say it could also be NGOs, but it could also be any other not-for-profit organizations or organizations that are doing such kind of resources, or other environmental science resources, or such kind of work. So I mainly see it as there are a lot of opportunities, but it also depends on you, what you want to do. Whether you are a technical person, or you want to go, you're more like plants towards plant person, or you're more towards animals, or you just like the normal environment and you would just like to do something generic. So it all depends on you.
Once one question
Perfect.
came in the chat box. This is related to this discussion. What is the difference between environmental engineering and environmental science? Aparna, can you tell us the major difference?
Yeah, I think, as per my understanding, so engineering is a stream wherein you do more technical stuff. So when I said designing of all these air pollution units and things like that, they don't come in environmental sciences. Environmental sciences is a softer version. So basically, if you're doing BSc with environmental sciences, then you will study about zoology. You will have basics of zoology, botany, what else, natural sciences, things like that. So the technical aspects will be dealt in an engineering field. So if when you say you have to design a landfill, that is the place where all the waste goes. So you wouldn't be designing that if you are doing an environmental sciences course, but you would definitely be doing it. You will be designing it. You will be learning how to deal with water treatment plants, sewage treatment plants, air pollution units, air pollution monitoring. All those things come under the engineering aspects. So it is, if I had to put it in simple words, it's more technical rather than more softer version in sciences. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much, Aparna. In chat box, Amrita, one question has came. PCB student can take admission in environmental engineering. So let me tell the students and parents, when the word comes engineering, it is compulsory that you have to take the M, that is a maths, right? So yes, definitely you can go by the science route, right? Environmental science, you can go by BSc biotechnology, microbiology, right? So these routes are open, but not the exact engineering. Am I right, Aparna?
Reena, you will be able to update them better, because I've done it 25 years ago, and I've done it from, so I have to state that I've done it from Gujarat, where I also did biology and I also did maths at that point.
Yeah, PCMB they can take, but not only PCB alone. They cannot enter into engineering. Okay.
That's right. Makes sense. Yep, that's right. Yep.
Yes, Amrita, over to you.
So it was really a very informative, Aparna. You covered my next question also, actually, what are the different jobs available in an environmental engineering? But really, because lot of people don't know what are the all options available. So it's very good we come to know it's for consultancy, it's for NGO, it's for industry. A lot of opportunities is there. That's the assurance you gave to our audience today. So that's brilliant. Now, the next question, if we move ahead. So, what do you think, what are different industries, means although it's required by most of the industry, but do you want to name any service sector specifically or industry which hire such student? Because when we do any course, we see where we will get absorbed by, which company will absorb us. So major,
I think that it is mandatory for most manufacturing industries, but that includes all sorts of industries, be it chemical, any sort of manufacturing industries. Are they even producing, even if they're producing pharmaceuticals, or even if they're producing chemicals, or even if it is something to do with the machinery, I'm pretty sure that most industries do definitely need environmental engineers. Not that I've worked a lot in India with environmental engineering degree, because I just was in a consultancy and I worked for 2.5 years before actually doing my second master's. So I would say that I'm pretty sure I interacted with a lot of engineers, and a lot of people from my course were absorbed by a lot of industries. So industries is one of the primary sector where you will definitely look at. I'm not sure, very sure about service sector industries, but there are opportunities coming up these days. You can be employed, and probably you would be doing some other, not direct works related to environmental engineer, but more so lab work of monitoring and things like that, because there's a lot of water pollution monitoring, air pollution monitoring, even waste. For example, chemical industries require a lot of waste. So they have labs, which is not directly related to the chemical industry, but that is a intermediate place where you can also get absorbed. So I think for industries, it would be more relevant, and particularly the manufacturing industries, I thought.
Yes, brilliant. So let's move to the next question which I have today. So tell us, means basically you did your master's here in India. So can you tell us about your first master's? That was in engineering planning, right? Environmental planning, I'm so sorry. So,
Environmental planning. Yep. So that's what I was talking to Reena, that sometimes when you're not very prepared to jump into the work sector, and that's when you actually think, okay, let me do another course so that And I would tell everyone to take a call that you really feel like going into the market, studying how it is working and getting some experience, or you decide that you actually want to do another the first masters or any masters for that matter. So I think for me it has been a career progression where after engineering I thought I might not be a perfect suit for an environmental engineering. So probably I then expanded my idea of having an environmental planning degree, and also because I wanted to do masters immediately after my bachelor's. So for a particular reason. So, and that's why I took up environmental planning as my master's course, wherein I studied more planning aspects. So planning is more generic and not so technical, but planning also deals with some sort of infrastructure planning. So my first master's was of environmental planning, which probably dealt more so with infrastructure planning. It talked about environmental economics. It talked about environmental impact assessment in another format as well, but it also talked about statistics, natural resource management, and things like that. So I would say that if you are an environmental planner, what you would do is basically it ranges from both micro planning to, like, say, a neighborhood an area to a larger area. For example, it is a city and you need a city planner wherein environment also becomes a part of it. It's a very important part of it because you also need I would say parks and all those infrastructure which is to support more so like absorption of pollution and things like that. So probably environmental planning also basically deals with how would you plan an area, okay, and also expand on whatever is existing. For example, if already infrastructure is there, how you can expand on it or use them wisely, kind of thing. So that is all about what we studied in my first master's of environmental planning.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think when we plan, India is planning now smart city. So definitely we need a lot of environmental engineer to plan the city smartly. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very true.
I learned new word. Yeah, I learned new term today. That's environmental economics. Would you like to tell us something about what is economy related with environment? We know about the money.
Yes. So basically, when we talk about environmental economics, it's basically valuation of all the resources. For example, you cannot put real-term value of this is the value of how you would put financial aspects to a tree. But for example, if you had to save a forest, there's something called an opportunity. How do I explain it? Simpler words. There's an opportunity cost to everything, which meant that if there is no tree here, okay, what amount of pollution are we generating, or how much are we not able to absorb in terms of let me put it simpler words. That's, I think, more complicated than I thought to explain. Environmental economics talks about basically putting all the resources into financial terms, but it's not possible to put everything. For example, as I gave the example of a tree, it's not the best to put a financial value to one tree because it's not the same as the tree in the middle of a residential estate versus a tree in the middle of industry. So basically there will also be location aspects, but talking about environmental economics, it mainly explains how you put valuation to resources, because this is something that has never happened. We never value our resources. We never value free air. We never value the fresh water that comes to us, right? We assume that it's free, but actually nothing is free. So when it comes at a cost, and that cost which is hidden and not accounted for is basically needs to be accounted for. That is all about environmental economics.
Yeah,
and all those things have not been accounted in the past. That's why it's very important to account them in any aspect, be it planning, be it doing any project or anything like that.
Yeah, so Corona made us aware. Yeah, it's clear, Aparna. It's very clear. Corona made us aware how important air is, how important oxygen is. So that's really that's interesting. So now tell me what kind of research is research area in this scope in this area? What are the research scope? Yeah.
You mean after planning or just in general with environment?
Environmental, it's a general, yeah, environmental engineering. Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of research going on, not just in terms of, I think Reena did mention about biotech, but environmental biotech and nanotechnologies and things like that. But there's also a lot of research going on about valuation of resources, which is more so related to natural resource management and things like that. And a lot of universities are really doing far ahead work than I can actually list it right now. It's a big list, but and definitely that is one of the, I think one of the career options that I didn't mention. Thanks for mentioning that, Amrita, because a lot of people do research and they take up research as their career, and they want to do PhD later on or just work in the sector, but definitely do a lot of research, and that is mainly through universities. So I would definitely say that universities give us a very good opportunity of both teaching the students, like giving it back to from where you learned, and of course research, which is a good, I would say, a very, very good opportunity for those who want to get into this area. And it is something very specific where not everyone would want to go into. And I think, I don't know if I've answered your question. So what kind of researches are going on? I think I listed down few, but I'll say some more. So there's a lot of research going on around, so there's some data and some statistics around climate change and global warming, but a lot is being still talked about, and it is a gray area. A lot of scientists are working on it, and that is also my interest area as well. So there's interest about how to value the resources, how to put how to put these resources into best usage, something about climate change, something about global warming, something about environmental sustainability. And all these are, like, you might think that these are all buzzwords, but they are also, there's lot of research being done which has not surfaced and not a lot of people know about it yet. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, definitely. So that's brilliant, Aparna. And now the next question is, tell us about your most exciting journey of your education, your master's degree from the prestigious University of Oxford, like applying to Oxford, getting accepted there, learning experience, whatever you want, because students are really want to know how you got the opportunity to study in Oxford. Yeah.
I used to think that it is really very hard to get into such esteemed universities. And I don't know why I chose Oxford, probably just because out of passion and out of a lot of interest of, as I am assuming everyone would have it. So my idea was that I wanted to do something very specific to environment. And I found a course in Oxford University, which was absolutely matching my interest area. So I'll talk about my course later, but I'll talk about the process first. So I had been working in India for 3 years, almost 3 years by then. And I wanted to have some extra, or probably more, I would say, value addition in whatever I had learned. So I found this particular course, but I wasn't sure what way to go through and how to reach. It was a good learning process, learning curve, and it wasn't hard, I must say, because I'm not a very brilliant student. I'm just a mediocre student, and anyone can reach Oxford if you work hard. You have good credentials, as in you just need a good, I would say, a consistent, not good, but I would say a consistent curriculum, a background of what you have studied. You should have passion in what you are doing, and you should also get all these recommendation letters from your professors, the transcripts from the universities, and you should write your own SOP, which is called the statement of purpose. So when you do all these things, when all these things fall in place, I believe if all this is correct, I think you can get it. You can get there. It's not rocket science to reach there. That's what I realized once I reached there. So I think what you need is basically pretty much what you need for any other, and of course a good IELTS score as well. I don't know, at that time it was really important to get that. I don't know how it works now, but so all these being in place, I think you can get it.
Yeah, that's a big assurance, Aparna. We were means people think, oh, whether I'll get Oxford or not. So that's a big assurance you gave to us. Means really, the what you said, consistency is a key. So now, Reena, would you like to go ahead with the further questions? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Amrita. Already Aparna has took all my words of counseling.
I'm
Yes.
helping you, Reena.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really, interest matters a lot, right? Your passion for doing something. So yes, definitely these are really not the like glorifying or buzzwords, but this is the requirement. Yes, one has to do all the process, all the things together, hard work, consistency. Definitely, you can reach the place where you are dreaming, right? So moving ahead, I will take the next question. Aparna, can you tell us which graduation is more suitable to enter in this environmental science?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question, Reena.
Yeah,
Maybe because I'm outdated also.
no. Which graduation the student can choose, or we can say these are the more suitable to enter into the environmental science? So which graduation? Is it like by doing the engineering or by doing the MSc, BSc, MSc route? So which you will suggest more suitable?
Oh, okay. I've known friends who have done it through various methods. I wouldn't say just point two out of them. So environmental engineering is one aspect that I myself followed, but I have had lots of friends who have done environmental sciences, and then depending upon their topic of interest or their area of interest, they have taken their own specialization in it. And I think there are a lot of people who do geography. They did geography as their bachelor's, and then they did sorry, not geography. They did economics as their bachelor's, and then they did masters in environmental economics. So
Okay.
that is one of the areas I'm aware of. There are some geographers who can also. So when I did environmental planning, I actually realized that there are a lot of options and opportunities for people to get into environmental planning. There were geographers in my class who were very much doing environmental planning. So it's to do with spatial planning and everything. So everything related to geography. So there were people who were economists, there were people who were statisticians or whatever. So they did statistics. So they did something related to statistics, and they were still there in doing environmental planning. So they're all related. I wouldn't say that they are very unrelated. And you can choose the technical aspect of doing engineering, or you can also do sciences or any other, or I'm not sure if arts helps you to pursue any other subject in environment, but pretty much I think it's not so commercial. So don't go the commerce side, which is more accountancy and things like that. But I would say sciences would be helping you to reach to environmental sciences.
Okay, thanks, Aparna. I will try to take few questions from the chat box. So the question been asked by Sanvi, do we need biology in 12th as a compulsory subject for environmental engineering? So this, I will answer this question. No, not needed, right? So you can go by the PCM route. I'm repeating these things. If you don't want to go by the engineering, then you can go by the BSc, MSc route, right? There you can keep bio. Many of the colleges require bio for BSc, and many of the college they are having the optional one. You can do it by PCM route also. So it's depend which college, university you want to choose. So likewise, you can select those things. Now this question I didn't got, but yes, I will read the thing. I'm going a bit off track, but yes, as an environment engineer, why do you think that India is not able to curb its problem like water pollution or maybe waste management? And how can we as a student plan to do the same? Yes, Aparna, you can answer this better.
I'm not sure if I should be. I'm not sure if I should be answering questions like that, but
okay, no problem. Yes, definitely. When it's not that way that India is not curbing on the problems or anything. Students are interested in this environment, right? They are interested into biotechnology. But as you said, you mentioned, Aparna, PhD is the solution, right? Because this is more into research, right? And when we ask the students in the counseling that, yes, they are saying we are passionate about the environment, we need to start the research. But when we ask them, do you have the journey to complete after 12th, minimum at least 10 to 12 years of study plan, then they like think over it and they said no, we cannot go. But yes, this route will get open because this is more research oriented, right, Aparna?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think from the perspective of career, I would say that nobody is very sure whether they will be committing 12 years from now. As you said, it is really
Right.
hard to say
Yeah.
that, okay, I'll be
Exactly.
studying for 12 years. And I would say to every student and their parents who are attending this, that you should take step by step. Don't go, just leap and say, okay, let's do the PhD as the ultimate goal and then you will get the dream job. It doesn't happen like that. Probably you do your bachelor's and then you realize that, okay, the market is offering you something which is not what you want. And then you study the market for a little while and then go for your master's. Probably that's the reason I'm still studying, and I would be studying for another lifetime, I would say, because after I did my first master's, I realized I went to the market. I worked for 3 years and I realized that there is something more the market is offering. And if you want to go in terms of higher salary, higher remuneration, higher satisfaction, or if you have more interest, only then you would go for another master's. So probably I gave it a thought for 3 years and I thought, okay, now I'm in a position that I should take up another master's in order to study extra or something which is more relevant to the current times rather than what I'm doing. So I just took up my second master's after a break. And I would say everyone should give it a thought. Don't think that PhD would be your final solution and that's when you will get your dream job. So there's nothing called a dream job. Whatever you get, that is how you learn. And it is a very learning, it's a very long curve. It doesn't just end somewhere, right? So what happens is
Exactly.
you take up a course, you realize that these are the pros and cons. After I'm finished, okay, I might get a job which is $50,000, 50,000 rupees per month. Okay, and if I do this extra course, I might get 80,000. Maybe finances is not just one of the things, but it could be, okay, I might get into this work right now, which is just an environmental engineer. But if I do this course, which is an MBA, it is not related to environment, but then I become a project manager in this industry, something like that. So you realize over time what is needed. So you just don't jump into things right now. And probably answering the question about what we can do right now. So there are a lot of people, there are a lot of environmental engineers coming out every year. I mean, it's not bulk, but of course, there's also there's also there's also some gap in what is being planned and what is being executed. So probably I think that there is more coordination required between the two. There's also a big amount of population that we are dealing with. So anything that is planned for 1,000 people, if the statistics change and it is actually being catered to 1 lakh people, so that's where the gap is. So definitely we have to grow in lot of things that can help us to perform better. That's what I would say.
Yes. Thanks, Aparna. Now the next question from our list: what are future opportunities in air, water, and solid pollution?
I would say that there is a lot of, I think the areas or the sectors remain the same. For example, if I had to say that you could go into industries where, for example, I worked as a trainee in Tata Chemicals Limited in Mithapur, which is in Gujarat. So I worked as a student trainee there before I pursued my master's. So before I started my master's. So there are opportunities of with industries because definitely they need to have all such units. There are opportunities with the local government where I am working currently. So all the local governments need to plan for their facilities, their infrastructure, and also improvise on them over time. It's not that just once the treatment plants are made, there will not be any change or there will not be any upgrade. So industries, manufacturing industries, these local governments, there are lots of pharmaceuticals industries. I would say even I've seen a lot of people work in laboratories. they work in research organizations where you can, that's not directly designing, but more so designing will be either for industries or for local governments, or maybe for central government, like the environment department.
Yeah. Thank you, Aparna. Now the question in from the chat box: which all colleges in Pune, Mumbai have environmental engineering branch? Also, if none of them offer environmental engineering, then which branch should we select? So I will answer this question. Yes, definitely. Like in Pune and Mumbai, we don't have like many colleges for environmental engineering. But yes, at the same time, you can go by BTech in chemical engineering and BTech in civil engineering. You can learn environment related these things from the core branch. And I always suggest students to at your undergrad level, you should take the core branch, and then at your master's or PhD, you can just do the specialized and super specialized one. In Kolhapur, we have one college that is a KIT one, which is having the BTech in environmental engineering. You can definitely, if you are really passionate, then you can opt for that branch as well. So there is no problem. Is chemistry compulsory for environmental science? Can you answer this question, Aparna?
So the route that I went to, I had chemistry, biology, maths, and what is the remaining? Physics. I had PCMB all together. So probably, Rina, you know it better, but there is a
No,
chemical
chemistry is compulsory. We cannot avoid the chemistry. Okay. So PCM route is compulsory. B can be the optional, but yes, chemistry you have to. And I think, Aparna, you have like so far like long journey. So you might have across many of the concepts or the things you have to consider from the chemistry as well, right? So definitely this is a useful subject and you have to learn the chemistry. Yeah, the question: which countries will be very good for environmental education and job opportunities? Can you throw some light on this?
Okay, so I have studied in UK. So my experience of the EU countries is I'm more I would say close to EU countries, and there's a lot of work and there's a lot of research, additional research being done in EU countries. They are even advanced than some of the other countries, but I think it is more related to what I studied. So if you're talking about environment in general, I think the maximum amount of research, or probably I may just be over exaggerating, but the maximum amount of research being done in the world is definitely still in US. So US is a good place where there are very good courses in environment, both sciences as well as non-sciences courses as well. So which is, I meant to say technical and non-technical, but definitely US is a very good place to go for. I know some of the EU universities, European Union universities are really good, and I know that Singapore is really heading way ahead. So probably Singapore. I just recently heard about Hong Kong, but I'm not very confident about it. So probably places like these have really advanced in their environment courses a lot. I've heard of one of the good. It's very specific, but it is to do with technology, and it is to do with. I'm forgetting the name of the university, but it's very popular in Thailand as well. So probably that would be one of those places where you would go to. So there are a lot of opportunities overseas. I wouldn't say that there is limitation, but it depends on what you want to do as well. So what is your interest area, or you just want to just go and explore what the country is doing, or what the course they are offering, then probably these would be the countries I would go to.
Yeah, correct. Now the question is what they cover in study with subject related, example, biology, job opportunity. So what exactly the in the environmental engineering, if you can tell us about the subjects and what is the they cover in those subjects.
Okay, so what they primarily cover, if I were to talk about environmental engineering, it is the technical aspects of So I will talk about something which is more at the final year level, but because in the beginning, in the first year of engineering, you study all the subjects, which is basic to all engineers, right? You study part of mechanical engineering, you study part of civil engineering, you study also part of chemical engineering and things like that. But going into specialization as the years, as the years progress, you definitely study, and an important subject is environmental impact assessment, which is done for most projects. And I think I did tell Amrita just briefly when I started, is that is a very important aspect, and it is always done for most big projects. Okay, there is a limit. There is, I think, there is a country, or there is a specific limited thing that every project beyond 50,000. I don't know the current rules for India, but I can check and tell you that it's for every large project, the environmental impact assessment has to be done, be it a transport project or any other project like that. Okay, then you design a lot of treatment plans. You study the legislation, so you can also become an environmental lawyer eventually. And they deal with a lot of law stuff as well. I mean, they teach you the basics, of course. And then you can also, you study about environmental resources as to what the resources are and how to use them effectively. Does that answer the question, Reena?
Yes, Aparna, very true. Thank you so much. Now the one question came in the chat box. If I want to do the masters in environment science, should I do BSc bioscience or environmental science or biotech?
Would you be able to answer this question,
Yes,
Reena,
yes,
rather than
yes,
me?
I
Because
can,
you
I
know
can,
this
I can,
better.
I can. I will do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do the masters, Ria, from environment science, then you can take anything like BSc bio also, environmental also, and biotech also. As Aparna mentioned, that choose your choice subject, choose your, like, by your interest, then definitely you can learn the things fast, right? If you have the interest, then definitely you can explore more, excel more. So you can go by any of the route. You can do masters in environment science. There is no doubt about it. Okay. Yeah. The next question I will take. Aparna, there are a lot of doubts when it comes to abroad education. Then what are the facts and myths associated with this environmental education?
Should I talk about environmental education or just going abroad in general?
No, like you can go as per your convenience. There is no problem. Absolutely no problem.
Okay. So what I realized is the people here approach to studies differently as what we do it. I think what we were talking, Reena, is we are more organized. We have opportunities in our mind, and we are clear that after this step, we are going to take this step. Now, the question that I think the girl just asked Ria, that how would I do environmental sciences masters? And in order to do environmental sciences masters, what bachelor's should I do? So this is something what we think way ahead in advance. What I realized when I went to study abroad is basically they focus a lot on work experience. Even if you are just not, even if you are 12th grade, like you've just passed 12th grade, they're pushed out of the house. So basically they have to work and they have to earn money in order to do their bachelor's, in order to do any further studies. So there is a difference that people in my course, they were quite experienced and they had done a lot of work before they had actually come to the course, which meant that they had all sorts of experience and they were also knowing the things better, how it works in the market. Even if they had not done environmental courses, but they knew how the market worked. So that is one difference why we always focus on work experience along with your education. It's very important to have that balance and not just probably just do courses, which is good because in India, for example, if you have a bachelor's, you might think that I might not get a very high salary job as compared to if I do a master's. So, but that doesn't hold true for IT sector, for example, because IT sector, a lot of people just do bachelor's in their IT sector and they still get a good job. So, so basically saying that one of the things that is important is to have an experience in the market. Go and explore the market, and it is nothing wrong about doing it. You can take a break from 1 year of your studies and also explore what you want to do. what do you want to do in the market? See what you can get and what are other opportunities associated with that. So definitely it's a good idea to actually explore the market. And other thing that I also found different, or probably I don't know if it is a myth or what, but this the I'm not sure, Reena, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes, yes, you
because
can go ahead,
what
Aparna.
what I realized is the education abroad is more practical, not practical, but probably more project based and not so much spoon feeding as compared to what it used to be in India. So we are given a lot of courses and a lot of reading material. But when I came abroad, I realized that there is no reading material. You can choose your reading material from the internet, whatever you choose to do. And then that's when you realize that what you have to read is also a step that you need to find out. When you read 10 articles, then you realize, oh my God, I just need to read this one and leave the 9 aside. So there was a lot of extra work going into, and then going to the libraries and finding the right thing. So if you don't get so much of spoon fed, like we didn't have any textbooks. I mean, we had textbooks, but practically we had to still go to the internet and keep finding a lot of other articles which were more relevant to the current times as compared to the textbooks. So probably there is also a difference of how the approach to studies is, because it's more self doing rather than just being fed, okay, read this book or do this article and then review it and just bring it back. It doesn't work so simply sometimes. So it was more collaborative. So I think this is very important, and I don't know how important it is in India still, but communications for every course you do, this is the key, that you need to learn to communicate, not just with your peers, like not with your colleagues, but also with your professors. You should be able to talk, you should be able to discuss, and you should definitely be able to throw ideas. And that only comes when you read and when you are well prepared. So preparedness for every class that we had to attend, we had to do some homework before the class, and then of course homework after the class. So it was quite different as compared to what I thought would be easy. Oh, okay, it wasn't that easy. It is a little bit hard work.
Yes. Thanks, Aparna. You really mentioned the true things which really required actually effective communication. I'm saying that you are doing half of my counseling. So you are really doing my job very easy. Yes, it's the requirement. We need to fulfill it, right? Without the communication, without doing the work in the team, we cannot survive in the market. So this is super important. That's why we are doing the aptitude of the student, where we check the verbal ability, reasoning, and cognitive expression are like the very important thing. So we tell the students, be expressive, whatever knowledge you have, express it, right? So it should reach to other people, which is really again an important thing. Now we have cover all the question. Now I have one question in the chat box. Let me take that question. There are many major universities now that is offering BSc Environmental Study, which needs only economics and mathematics in 11th and 12th grade. I want to specialize in marine life conservation. Do you know any university that offers courses specializing in this area? So in India, this question is asked by, let me check. Yes, Purvaja. So in India, we have like very limited option for this conservation marine life. But yes, at the same time, you can check the Goa College Institute of Oceanology. They do conduct these courses. So you can check in the Goa College. But yes, at the same time in India, we have very limited option. You can check these options at abroad, right? So this is, I think, through with all the question from chat box and from our list also. Aparna, like how will you conclude this session? Like what message you need to you want to give the parents and students related to environmental science? So please concluding mark. Remark.
I would definitely encourage students to give that as a go option if you want to explore something different in life, because and that is the reason why I actually started with this career in the first place. And I realized that it is worth pursuing because I've been in this sector for such a long time now. I would say 25 years nearly. I have realized that it is a very it's not a very lucrative, I would not say it is a very lucrative sector, but it is a very rewarding sector, because if you have done something that is kind of satisfying to yourself, it's really good for the, and of course it's good for the environment too. So definitely give it a go. And plus, weigh out your opportunities and then go into the market with your research, of course, and then do something. And then if you have studied one course, and then just go to the market and just explore what are the work opportunities related to that. And probably if you find more opportunities later on, just take them one by one. It doesn't matter that you just, I think this is what even I think Reena would agree, that it is not necessary to do your masters immediately after your bachelor's. And this is a myth that we have, that we won't get a good job, or we don't qualify in the market for any good opportunities if we don't have a master's. So go at your pace and see what is being offered in the market. Sometimes you just explore more opportunities by going into the market. So that's what I feel, that give it a break. If you don't want to study further, at least do some work which is kind of giving you remuneration and also keeping you up with the market, and then see how you go ahead. So probably it's something that is really important for everyone to think about. And not everyone, as Reena said, there are very few colleges that actually offer environmental engineering. Environmental sciences is of course a popular subject, so probably there are more courses being offered here and there. But when I did my engineering, the only course that I had was only at a particular the government course. There were some private courses, but the only engineering college that offered it in the whole state of Gujarat was only in Ahmedabad, in one of the colleges that I did. So there are limited options, but it is really a path for pursuing, because you will really be proud of yourself at some point of time, because it's really a rewarding career in terms of what you not just earn and do for yourself, but also for the society in the bigger, I would say, perspective. So I think that's my message.
Yeah. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you so much. You have given a lot of information related to, because you are the person who are in the field, right? So it was amazing that you have given us like a lot of information. And as you have mentioned, like this in India, this trend is not there, that do your graduation and study the market, and then so here the trend is different. So we suggest students try to talk with the people who are in the field, right? During your graduation, go for the internship when you have the holidays. So even here also, I will suggest all the parents and the students, take the kids to their network, to their contacts, and try to get the internship. If it's a Diwali vacation, summer vacation, go for the internship, right? You will learn the things more and more, and you will definitely, as Aparna said, it is really a brilliant idea that you should study the market. But yes, in India it's not that way. But as a counselor, I always tell the students and parents that try to talk the people who are in the field. So it's really very very important, we should understand, because every time we cannot take the U-turn. So it's better, to where we want to reach, we should ask the people, we should decide, and we can then decide, like you can definitely reach there. Okay, so over to you,
Totally agree.
Amrita. Please vote of thanks for Aparna.
Yes. So Aparna, once again, a big thank you to you, because you took out time for us. It was really neat. We were getting a lot of requests from parents. We want to understand what are the opportunities, what is the environment engineering. So I just had you, means and you accepted the invitation in just once. So really big thanks to you from the Abhinav Career Scope family. Okay, thank you so much, Aparna, for. And the last thing I want to say, means whatever you have covered, it was very informative. We got to know about a lot of field from, and we understood it's not just a science stream, it's a multidisciplinary. You can go from the economics, you can go from the geography, you can go from the chemistry. It's a lot of ways are open. Yeah, just you have to explore and do your best. And definitely, whenever we talk about the abroad education, your experience count, your profile count, your continuous progress in your marks or that is required, and main part your interest. That is the key takeaway of today's session. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Aparna. Thanks for your valuable time.
No worries. Thank you so much, Reena and Amrita, for giving me this opportunity to talk. I hope I was useful to somebody.
No, you are definitely. I'm getting the replies. It is a very good session. I can read for you. Thank you for this informative webinar. Wonderful insight. So yes, we are motivated. We can take more webinars for the parents and students. Thank you so much, all the parents, for your participation, attending this webinar, and made it a very good discussion. So thanks once again, Aparna and Amrita, for this your valuable time. Okay. So,
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So have a nice time, Aparna. Enjoy.
Yeah. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah. Chalo, take care. Bye. Yeah.